Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host, LovelyCheesePizza here. Welcome back to Let's Play some more Gran Turismo 3, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, where we are diving headfirst into the Italian Avant-Garde Challenge thing. It's not a tournament cup, there's only 2 races in here. And so here we go. We get to uncork the absolute hellion nightmare that is this 1,000 horsepower machine of imminent doom known as the Zonda C12. And I don't know how to control it very well, so this may be good, it may not be good, I am not entirely sure. So we will see what happens. It's only 10 laps. The big thing is I just have to figure out how to take corners here. This has always been my biggest Achilles heel, if it were to be said. Just because whenever I use high horsepower vehicles on this course, it always turns into a big problem. So we'll see how I can handle it. Hopefully I can handle it at all. Because something tells me, just by the condition of my tires already, I'm probably going to have to hit the pits, which also implies that I'm probably going to need to have a fairly sizable lead over the competition, because I don't know whether they're going to hit the pits or not. And that doesn't seem fair. I mean, what kind of tires are they using that I don't have? Because I'm fairly interested in buying a set of those. Okay, well, we have a lead out the gate so far, so we'll see how it goes. But big news, by the way. So for those of you that have been that were here a couple episodes ago, I was telling you about how I had I had a performance test coming for my 911 dispatch job. And I got to take that test the other night, and dude, that test was so fucking hard. It was crazy. First of all, they did not tell anybody prior to that test that it was going to be 3.5 hours long. Everybody came to that thing, and nobody was prepared to be there that long, and so everybody else had to like race back out to their car and put a couple extra hours worth of time in the meter, just so nobody would be, you know, getting parking tickets or whatever by the city by the time we were done. But it was crazy, man. It was a really fun test. We basically got to do Scantron tests, and they had we watched a video that was more or less like a fake call center, you know, doing like simulated calls, where people would call in and they'd say this is what's going on, and we'd be basically taking notes in real time with them, trying to get all the information from the caller. And then it would stop the tape at one point or another and say, you know, like, what would you do here? What do you think's the appropriate next action? And so, you know, it really would kind of hinge on, you know, how well you were paying attention and how well, you know, how quickly you could get pertinent information down about the caller and what their situation is, and then all that stuff. And so they gave a whole load of different situations, anything ranging from, you know, people misusing the emergency line for like, there's kids playing on their bikes in an abandoned lot across from my house. Fuck that. I want the police out here now. Or like, you know, somebody stabbed my sister and now she's dead and I'm hiding under my bed. You know, that type of range of things. So it was pretty nifty. It was a cool thing. And then after that was actually probably the more exciting part, was the second section. They had like this interactive, you know, city grid that would have 4 different police cars available on it, and you know, you would do another simulated thing where you'd have a dispatcher out there, you know, asking what everybody's status is. You know, what are you, you know, blue car, what are you doing? Black car, what are you doing? And so they'd tell you, and then they'd give you these different scenarios that would pop up, and your job would be to dispatch one or more of the cars to these different, you know, emergencies based on, you know, trying to conserve resources as best as possible. So, you know, one of you, or you'd have to say, like, you know, who's the most appropriate car to send out on this job, and do I send them right away, or do I have them wait until, you know, until they're finished doing what they're doing? Do I need to take other cars away from like smaller priority jobs in order to effectively handle this, or what have you? So it was, dude, it was fun. It was really cool. And the hardest part with all this is that they'd only give you like 10 to 15 seconds max to, you know, to come up with what you're gonna do. So like you can't sit there and just think on it. You know, it's all done in real time because, you know, dispatch callers and 911 call takers have to be able to think very quickly. You know, that it's not the kind of thing where like, oh my God, there's a a bank robbery in progress, or, you know, this church is on fire. And we're like, all right, well, I'm gonna take like 10 or 15 minutes and figure out what to do, and then I'll give you a call back. And so it was just it was a really high octane thing, and which the hard thing for me is that, you know, they had us do that typing test to assess how quickly you could, you know, type down information and all that stuff. And I mean, I super excelled at that, but they didn't have us do any of that during this actual performance exam, which I'm sitting here thinking, what the fuck did you even have me do that for? I mean, if you're having us hand write down the information, which we wouldn't even be doing anyways if we were on dispatch, we'd be entering it all in through computers. It's like, why would you not have us, you know, put our typing skills to the test here? You know, because my big thing is I don't write things very fast by hand. Like, my body just, like, does not allow my hand to write very fast. And so I'm sitting here just basically doing fucking crazy chicken scratch because it's the only way I can get stuff down quickly. And that's kind of a big problem, you know? Like, if I end up failing this thing because I wasn't able to get down the amount of information they wanted because I can't fucking write fast enough, I'm gonna be pissed. It's like, but dude, you know, I can type like 75 words a minute with high accuracy. Like, why is it that you're having me, you know, you're judging my skill set off of whether or not I can fucking write things down by hand fast enough? I'm really hoping this is the best time to do this, by the way, because I know that they're not going to do it. Of course not. So if I can get this new set of tires in quickly, I can go catch up with them. Go! Go! Jesus, man. God. I mean, I know I'll be able to make up some ground here pretty quickly, but fuck. Okay, well, now we are at a massive disadvantage. Oh boy. And then the the last part of our exam was basically going back over the first set of information that we took. You know, basically saying, how well were you able to take this information under pressure? And so, you know, they'd say like, what was this person's address that they gave during their call, or was this their phone number, or, you know, did this person call complaining of this, or, you know, and the information would either be right or it wouldn't be. And I think that I did really well. And so I've got my fingers crossed that I did well enough for them that they'll, you know, move me on to the next section of this hiring process, because apparently, you know, this process is insane. I mean, there's so many steps to it. There's this performance exam, and then if you pass, then there's another exam, like a one-on-one interview that you do, and then there's a psych evaluation, and then there's like an interview panel part, and then there's like another evaluation, and then they give you a formal job offer. So it's like you really got to go through like every fucking hoop imaginable. Which, I mean, I get it. I mean, they want their dispatchers and people taking emergency calls to be, you know, effective, sane people. They don't want somebody that's just absolutely mentally unhinged being the one taking emergency calls. Like, 911, what's your emergency? Oh, my house is on fire! Everybody's dying! It's like, well, shouldn't have left the stove on. See you later! You know, not that kind of thing. Sounds like a personal problem. Call back later. Hope you have fun with that. So it's just, yeah, it's mentally taxing. I'll find out actually tomorrow whether or not I passed this section. So I'm hoping for the best. And thank you to all of you guys that you know, gave me kind words of encouragement and, you know, were telling me, you know, you got this. It was the very first performance test I've ever had to take for a potential job, and so it was very nerve-wracking. I mean, my anxiety was boiling over like crazy, It was like I was making top ramen with the burner on high in my chest and my brain. It was just, oh god. I got into the room and I was sweating buckets in there. Aside the fact that the room was cramped and tiny, but it was, it was a rough one. But I think I did pretty well. Dude, this race is gonna come down to the wire, man. I can feel it. So while we're doing the last couple of laps, I have another little mini story for you. Just because I don't remember all the details very well, but I had this bizarre as shit dream about a week or so ago. So I'm gonna see how well I remember details. So apparently I was with the Ghost Adventures crew for some reason, and we were gonna go investigate a place, but it wasn't a haunted location. It was just like this secret kind of like fabled thing that a lot of people had heard about it, but nobody had actually seen it before. And it was like this hidden away from the public, like, secret prison thing that was designed for, like, the worst of the worst people in the world that, like, we need, like, you know, the general public needs them to vanish because they're that bad. And so we had to go through, like, this intricate set of, like, tunnels and, like, caves and, you know, do this from fucking Congo, like, swim underneath a waterfall. You know, like we're going to the ancient city of Zinj. Oh, they're going into the pits, or at least one of them did. And then, you know, and then we came up on this, you know, mystical prison or whatever, and the place was so weird. I mean, there were like 50 or 60, you know, inmates in there, but the entire prison was made entirely out of hardened shit. I'm not kidding. Like, we go in there and, like, you don't even really smell anything. So, like, it wasn't just like this overpowering just smell of fecal matter that's just being sprayed from an ass. But you go in there and you're like, why is it so brown in here? Like, is this mud? And you know, one of the guards is like, mud? Oh, it's some kind of mud. And he's like, take a look over there. And you know, he like whips this inmate in the back, and the guy gets up and he goes and walks over to this section on the floor, and he just takes his pants off and squats and just shits right there in the ground. And then this other guy that's walking by with like this it looked like a squeegee, but it was basically to, like, you know, to like pack it into the ground. He was like smoothing it into the ground, and it was basically like turning it into the floor. And so I was just like, what the? I was like, why? Oh, they all went into the pits. Oh shit. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so this idea actually works. I'm gonna employ the same thing when we do our second race, because the second race is this race just backwards. Interesting. But yeah, dude, it was just like everybody would just go stand up, and then at random and just go take a shit in the ground, and some person would go by and smooth it into the floor, or they'd smooth it, you know, they'd like scoop it up and like smooth it into the walls, and it was like this fucking like castle looking thing. It was insane. It was so weird and inhumane and awful. It was just this terrible display of, you know, of like human treatment at its worst. And then to make things interesting, though, there was actually one guy that actually was granted release. And it was like this weird kind of like emotional thing where he's like, I've been here for 17 years, you know, my family doesn't even know who I am anymore, and I finally get to get out of here. I just hope that, you know, they still care about me when I get out of here. And there was like this whole like ceremony of him like getting to take his shackles off, and he got to put on a pair of like clean clothes, and they had him take like two like ice pick looking things, and they had him scale the wall of, you know, of this, you know, prison castle, this shit prison castle thing. And all the guards that were up at the top that would look down with like their guns and whatever, they just kind of like separated and made this area for him to go up. And, you know, and he got up to the top, and he turned around, and he was just like, I won't forget any of you guys. And everybody looked up, and they were like cheering and all that stuff. I guess he was like the, you know, like one of the favorite inmates or whatever. And, you know, the guards were like shaking his hand, and And one of them was just like, if you mention anything about the location of this place, we will find you and kill you. And he's like, I ain't saying shit. And so he just, you know, he ends up, you know, putting on like this little parachute thing that had like supplies in it and whatever, and he hopped off the wall and he left. And it was really cool. But the whole dream was so fucking bizarre. Let's see, game status, 57.2. Not too bad. So we'll save right here. I think that was that actually went over a lot better than expected. I was really thinking that was going to be a lot harder than that, but we did pretty well. So we're going to stop right here. When we come back on the next installment of Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, the Ultimate Driving Simulator, we are going to do the other race in the Italian Avant-Garde Cup, and we'll see what our prize is, and we'll move on from there. But until then, my friends, I am going to go take a shower, because Michaela and I are going to go up to, the mall, up towards Portland, and we're going to go pick up her wedding rings that we had resized and soldered together. So it's going to be super awesome. She had like her regular, you know, ring, but then we got the band that goes along with it, and so they had to like solder them together because, you know, they'd always like not be lining up. So we're gonna go do that. So until then, my friends, this is your host LovelyCheesePizza saying thank you guys for watching, and avoid those prisons made of shit. They're really bad. So take care, guys. Bye.